So I try to look away from my phone a lot of the day, but people kept bugging me, my friends, saying, "Oh, look, this is out. Let me show you some stuff." But I ignored what it showed. And this is a new Overwatch experimental patch notes for November 30th, 2021. I haven't done an Overwatch video in far a long time because I've been doing things with Yu-Gi-Oh! More. Now, this is the creator experimental update. The supports were taken by Violet, flats were taken the tanks, and Somju took DPS. I really only know Violet and Flat. I rarely know Somju, and I have rarely heard of this person. I know he's a content creator and a streamer, but that's all I really know about him. So let's get in to see what Flats did let's see what they did for the tanks, and it looks like it's all in order. So let's see what Flats decided to put up. You have Pilot Diva, quick melee damage increased from 30 to 100? No. Defense matrix size increased by 10%. Okay, that's fine. Boosters, duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds, and speed increased by 25%. That's pushing more for dive, though. I'm not a fan of that. Ejecting out of the mech now ejects you 15 meters per second up and 10 meters per second in the direction you are holding. That's actually very useful. Only things that I would critique on the Pilot Diva is not 100, but I would say 50 on the melee. And I would say 3 seconds for the duration for the boosters. After that, we have Orisa. She's now 250 health and 200 health, 250 armor to 1 health and 399 armor. Now wears a Christmas hat. Okay, that's a meme. Protective barrier, health reduced from 600 to 300, and cooldown went from 10 to 8. Fusion driver no longer slow while firing. Fortify duration increased from 4 to 6 and can now be headshotted using Fortify. Halt now has a 4-second cooldown. So she has a tiny amount of health for her barrier. Her HP pool is terrible because now things that do damage to armor will just melt her completely. Everything else is fine. I kind of like it. I need to test it. And I'm not sure this is the way to go with Orisa. Next up, we have Reinhardt. He is 200 and 225. Total health is 225. I don't like 25s. Let's just say that. Barrier health is now 2,000. Damage reduced for Fire Strike is 80. Now has 2 charges. Projectile speed increased by 100%. You can tell he's a Rein main. I don't like it. Earth Shatter knockdown duration increased from 2.5 to 3. Now deals 400 damage in a 0.1 meter radius around the impact point. Blocking an enemy shatter now plays a voice line, "You shame yourself." Blocking an enemy Earth Shatter now shows up in the feed using Rein's shield icon. Knockback resistant increase from 30 to 40%. That's way too much barrier health. They did that before. Fire Strike, I guess. Earth Shatter and Steadfast, fine. The HP, not so much. Roadhog maximum health is now 500. Scrap Cannon pellet damage reduced from 6.6 to 5. Chain Hook impact damage increased from 30 to 70. Cooldown to 6. Take a Breather now heals 250. Now lifts Roadhog while using it if he's point. That's a funny change. I really like that. Take a Breather, that's fine. Chain Hook, they're not dealing with the length of it. That's my problem, is the length. Everything else is fine outside of the damage, but the length of it, that's the thing that tilts me the most. Now we have Sigma. Health increased from 300 to 400, 500 total HP. Sigma is now able to hold jump while airborne to slow his descent. Why isn't that a thing already? This ability is now disabled. It is experimental after all, so they got rid of his barrier to make him an off-tank. Okay, accretion, impact damage 30 to 40, explosive damage increased from 40 to 50. Now susceptible to reflect-deflect abilities such as Defense Matrix. Sigma now uses his yes voice line after every use. Oh, that's gonna get annoying. Kinetic Grasps. Cooldown reduced from 12 to 8 seconds. Now increases Sigma's movement speed by... That's interesting. It makes it where Widow can do more now. That's fine. We have Winston. Knockback effects are now 30% less effective against Winston. Winston deals 100 more damage to deployable objects, barriers, turrets, etc. Jump packs now deal up to 100 damage to enemies within 4 meters of the launch location. Travel speed increased by 30%. And Primal Rage health bonus is now an extra 1,000. I agree with this. This needed to happen for Winston. This I really like. And then next we have Wrecking Ball. Grapple Claw, max duration is now 3.5 seconds. Okay. That's nice. Roll, jump height increased by 100%. Full speed impact damage on collisions reduced from 50 to 40. Can now change directions a lot more quickly and easily. I mean, those are good. And it's needed. Pile Driver, minimum damage reduced from 20 to 15. Maximum damage now 100 to 80. Cooldown reduced from 10 to 8 seconds. Can now be used from a slightly lower height. And Adaptive Shield. Shield granted per target reduced from 75 to 50. Duration increased from 9 to 12. Cooldown reduced from 15 to 12. So overall for Wrecking Ball, this pretty much fixes him and how he is. People are annoyed that he just rolls in, gets shield, rolls back out, and doesn't really die. And I do have to say, they did a good job on that. Next up, we have Zarya. This is the one that I'm really hoping it's going to be good. But let's see here. We have a particle cannon, primary fire. Its damage was increased from 75 to 85 damage per second. Particle cannon, secondary fire. Alt explosion no longer hurts yourself. Alt knockback increased by 150. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I am definitely fine with that. Particle barrier. Health increased from 200 to 250. Size increased by 50%. And the same for the projected barrier. That's fine. Hero updates. Let's see what they did to the DPS. Coach Gun now has 2 charges. Cool. Dynamite. And cooldown increased from 12 to 14. Nice. The Viper. Hip fire recovery reduced from 0.25 to 0.22. Nice. And take aim down sight, movement penalty reduced from 30 to 10%. Pretty good. Now we have Cassidy. Peacekeeper, secondary fire. Oh, there's nothing there. Combat roll. Now we can use while airborne. That's current. Flashbang cooldown increased from 10 to 12 seconds. Sure. Deadeye now spawns more tumbleweeds. Mind the thorns. Bastion, recon, bullet spread reduced by 15%. Now grants 100. Bonus armor for the ult. Doomfist, health reduced from 250 to 220. What is with 225? What's with 25s? The best defense passive, shield gains through normal abilities increase from 30 to 40, and landing time after confirmation reduced from... So they nerfed Doomfist. Fine. Genji, wall climbing speed increased by 50% and can now refund double jumps ability. And Shuriken's recovery reduced from 0.68 to 6. Sure. Storm arrows now ricochets off of surfaces up to 5 times. Lunge cooldown from 5 to... Hanzo's going to be a little broken, I do have to say so myself. After that, we have Junkrat. Total Mayhem grenade count increased by 100%. And the grenades drop in a 30% wider area. Fraggle launcher, impact damage from 40 to 30. Minimum explosion damage reduced from 10 to 8. Concussion mine maximum damage from 120 to 125. Minimum went from 30 to 25. Pharah, holding crouch while airborne, increased falling speed. That was needed. Concussive blast cooldown is now 9 to 8, and jump jet is now 9 to 8. That's fine. Reaper Shadow Step movement speed increased by 40% for 6 seconds after ending. Hellfire pellet reduced by 15%. These ones are hitting well. Sprint automatically reloads heavy pulse rifle after 3 seconds of continuous use. That's fine. Tactical Visor now increases heavy pulse rifle damage by 10% while active. That still does something, but soldiers' ult is still bad. Okay, we have Sombra. Affected targets now take 20% increased damage from all sources for 3 seconds. And cooldown increased from 8 to 12 seconds. Machine pistol bullet spread reduced by 10%. Sure. Symmetra's teleporter now increases the movement speed by 50% for 1.5 seconds. Torbjorn rivet gun recovery time reduced from 0.6 to 0.45 seconds. Forge hammer damage increased from 55 to 75 damage. Overload in that increases forge hammer damage to 125 while active, and deploy turret damage reduced from 14 to 10. Tracer now restores all blinks charges, and cooldown increased from 12 to 14 for recall, and pulse pistol ammo increased from 40 to 50. That's going to be interesting. Widowmaker, Widow's Kiss, automatically fire minimum damage after fall off from 3.9 to 5. Automatic maximum damage is 13 to 15. Infrared sight now resets grapple hook cooldown. That can be useful. And now for the rest of the heroes, the supports. We have Ana, Sleep Dart. Eliminating sleeping targets resets the cooldown. And Nano Boost now applies to Ana when used without a target. These are good. I really enjoy this. After that, we have Baptiste. Biotic Launcher. Healing grenades now affect Baptiste as well. Regenerative Burst now damages enemies instead of healing allies. Exo Boots now deals 40 damage to enemies within 4 meters upon landing. Interesting. And then we have Brig. Inspire no longer heals allies, instead triggering Inspire now reduces the cooldown of Repair Pack by 0.5 seconds. Repair Pack charges increase from 3 to 5. Lucio's... Wow. Okay, so we're on the last 3 heroes. Lucio, Sound Barrier, cost reduced by 30%. Now deals massive damage to enemy Lucio's, lands directly on top of it. Now deals massive damage to enemies Lucio lands. Okay, cool. Sonic Amplifier, fire rate increased by 15% while wall riding. After 1 second of wall riding, this bonus is reduced by 50%. Valkyrie, killing blows extends the durations by 3 seconds. Cardia Staff, healing now reduces from 55 heals per second to 40 HPS over 2 seconds while connected. Healing returns to normal over 2 seconds while not active. Resurrect can now be cancelled by using standardary fire while channeling, refunding 50% of its cooldown. Moira, Biotic Grasp, primary fire. Biotic Grasp healing now consumes Moira's own health if used while out of energy. Biotic Orb, allies that receive at least 100 healing from the same Biotic Orb are cleansed of all status effects. Enemies that suffer at least 100 damage from the Biotic Orb are slowed by 30% for 1.5 seconds. Fade now cleanses status effects from allies Moira passes through and allied players that are around her when it ends. And finally, Zenyatta. Discord Orb, damage amplification reduced from 25% to 20%, can now be applied to barriers, turrets, and other attackable objects. No longer reveals the position of its targets through line of sight. Line of sight returns reduced from 3 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Harmony Orb is the same for the line of sight, and Transcendence total healing reduced from 1800 to 1200. Now applies Discord Orb to nearby enemies. So, overall, my thoughts. A lot of them are good, some of them are iffy, some of them I don't agree with. But I still play the game, and I want to know what you guys think as well. But anyways, I've been Bolt Spider. See you guys in the next video, and goodbye.